Well, joining me with extraordinary timing is Matt Goodwin, pollster and Professor of Politics at the University of Kent. I'm also joined by Quentin Willson, former Top Gear presenter and campaigner for low emission and electric cars. Matt, I can't believe your luck, really. You've commissioned a piece of polling that you said you would exclusively reveal on this programme before we even knew that Rishi Sunak was going to give this speech. And you've been polling attitudes towards some of these green ideas, and in particular, attitudes of motorists to the way government are talking to them. So the big headline, I suppose, in many ways, is this 2030 to 2035, the 5-year slippage. And, you know, you can buy electric cars at any time, but equally you can buy new diesel and petrol cars from 30 to 35. When you polled that, what did the public say?
Well, as your previous guest just said, Nigel, among the key groups of voters for Rishi Sunak, this policy is very popular. Among all voters across the country, 50% are opposed to banning petrol and diesel cars by 2030. Only a third of them support it. But look at these key groups that Rishi Sunak has to win back. Opposition, 63% among Brexiteers, 63% among Boris Johnson's 2019 voters, 64% among the working class. Middle-class professionals support it. Workers oppose it. And crucially, pretty much everybody over the age of 50, again, key Conservative voters typically that Rishi needs to win back, they really don't like some of this net zero stuff. So look, just put what you're seeing on social media to one side for a minute. If he is to stand any chance of winning the next election, appealing to those key groups is what he has to do, and they're going to like this stuff.
Now, I live right on the edge of Kent and Greater London, the furthest point from central London where they put ULEZ cameras. I've never seen such local anger over an issue. Not just because it hits pensioners and it hits people with their, you know, they're self-employed with their delivery vans. Even those that have got newer cars just think it's wrong and it's unfair and not going to achieve anything. Overall, I mean, there are 37 million of us that drive cars. You polled attitudes towards whether, you know, environmental-related taxes and penalties on motorists have gone too far.
Yeah. So, again, we find that a large plurality of voters, about coming up to half the country, think environmental penalties and fees on motorists have gone too far. Only about 1 in 5 people in the country think they're about right. Now, I've written extensively, as you know, about why I think this issue is going to become one of the next big rebellions in British politics, because, as I've just shown you with the polling, what you're seeing is a more affluent, professional, city-based political media, cultural class advocating lots of these policies, but many workers, many pensioners, many squeezed voters, many people in the smaller towns and the coastal communities are looking at some of this stuff. And as the Prime Minister said today, you know, they just can't make sense of it. They say, well, why am I being asked to pay this? Why do I have to pay £12.50 every time I get in my non-compliant car and drive it around?
And I guess, Quentin Willson, that's the point in a way, isn't it? I mean, if you're Lord Zach Goldsmith and worth a fortune, then electric cars are great because it's just a little bit of pocket money. But when we've already got people, you know, struggling like crazy with ULEZ, isn't this 5-year extension of the ban on the sale of new petrol and diesel cars? It brings us into line, actually, with where Germany have gone and many other countries. Is this not, politically, we'll talk about the business angle in a minute, is it not a simple, pragmatic, straightforward move?
ULEZ was a mistake, and it's kind of weaponised air quality and environmental issues. And it was, you know, I said at the time, this is completely wrong-headed. So we've got this real polarisation in society now, and the motoring lobby is being courted by Sunak. But we will lose our place on the world stage if Marco said that we're ahead. You said we're ahead. We're not. We've de-industrialised
away
by China.
We've de-industrialised.
No, but look. America,
isn't net zero about de-industrialising?
Net zero is about making as much as we can for jobs and economic activity in the UK. That's the opportunity that we face. And Jeremy Hunt said it was £1 trillion opportunity. Now they've changed their tune. And we've seen this whole tirade today from all these businesses saying, why are you doing this? Why are you pulling the rug from underneath us?
And this is important, and I fully understand this point. There are businesses that have been gearing up for the 2030 date, but equally, They can make their cars and hopefully make their batteries.
They'll make them somewhere else, Nigel.
Well, why would
That's
they make
the
them somewhere
problem.
else?
Because a better environment, a more economically friendly environment, an environment with...
Where?
Europe, America, you know, where
But I mean, Germany is 2035 as well.
Yeah, but look, that's because the German, you know, car industry didn't want it. We have this ability now to catch up with the rest of the world when it comes to electric cars and battery factories. 25 battery factories in Europe being built and planned. We've got 1.5, and the one we've been, the second one, the JLR Stellantis, 4 billion. That could disappear because of this, because there's no certainty in industrial policies. I'm talking about jobs, I'm talking about prosperity, I'm talking about clean air, cheaper energy.
Well, I'm talking about jobs. 3,000 steel workers gone at the weekend. Why? We're getting rid of the same coal blast furnaces used all over the world. We're moving to electric arc, which recycles second-hand steel. We've stopped being a primary steel producer. That's madness from a strategic point of view.
I'm not a steel expert, but...
No, but the point I'm making is that we have actually got rid of a lot of heavy industries in the name of going green.
Because they don't...
We have had the most expensive electricity prices. We've lost both our aluminium smelters. We've gone for wind energy. We've put masses on people's bills. I mean, really, I think what Professor Goodwin is saying here with these numbers is interesting. And it is that if you go to what we call working-class voters, a lot of 2019 Tories, a lot of people for whom the cost of living crisis is very, very real, that you see these very large majorities who think, actually, what Sunak's done today is the right thing. We have to recognise these people, don't we?
We do, and we need to help their futures and give them jobs and help them retrain, and those jobs to be highly skilled and highly paid. But Sunak was disingenuous in the sense there was no policy for meat, no policy for car sharing, no policy for 7 bins and an aviation tax. You know, he is electioneering here, Nigel. You know this,
I get it.
I know it.
I get it, yeah.
And what we're doing is short-term opportunism against a long-term future for our children. And that's what's so craven about this.
The other thing I would say to you is this, that the biggest Chinese energy producer, Guaneng, probably a bad pronunciation, they produce more carbon dioxide. One Chinese company produces more carbon dioxide than the whole of the UK.
I know, look...
Than the whole of the UK.
1% of
yeah, if that.
Yeah, I know. But look, we can use this technology, use our expertise, use our skills to sell it to other countries. And that's what we need to do now, because we're in such a dire economic state. What Sunak didn't mention is $100 a barrel for oil. That's what hurts working people the most. What are we going to do about that, Nigel?
No, you're right. Oil was $95 yesterday, and it's the highest it's been for some time.
And it's been pushed up by Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I get that. I understand that. Equally, electricity has been very expensive on households through subsidy.
It needs to come down.
You say it's short-term opportunism, but is it a vote winner for him?
It may be, but I think the rest of the world will look on and say, this was your defining moment. This was your U-turn, your flip-flop, and possibly the biggest mistake of your political career.
300,000 people have now signed the petition in Wales against 20-mile-an-hour speed limits.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, there is a big lobby there.
Schools, hospitals, roads with pedestrians.
Okay, so we agree on that.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. You, Les, on that, we do agree on very strongly. Final thought, Professor Goodwin, is this a vote winner for Sunak?
I think it's going to go down very well among the key groups of voters that he needs to win back. It's not enough on its own. He needs the small vote numbers to come down. He needs inflation to come down. He needs a sense of economic optimism to kick in among voters out there. But, yeah, they're going to like this. And London might not, but many of his voters will.